All right, guys. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired. And I'm tired and sick of this COVID discussion. Some of my friends that I go back and forth with on Facebook and even on LinkedIn of all places, people are believing conspiracy theories. And all I'm asking for is just to be conscious of it. I'm promoting people vaccinate, but boy, I've been in some fiery fights lately, and I've brought some backup. I'll say one thing, and then we'll get this show started. I love it when the patriots come out. Oh, you're killing my rights. Oh, we fought wars for this. All right, cool. Let me give you, if I can motivate you with one thing before we get started. We are every war we fought for freedom, right? We are in a whole new war with a whole new different energy that's in the form of a virus called COVID. How are we going to get free from this? We have to make some woeful sacrifices. We have to do battle. And let's show you how to do battle. You don't have to hear from me. I'm too opinionated, as some people say, but I'm done talking about it. So I brought the backup. Let's dispel the myth. Let's get to the facts. And let's get to a healthy space. Mentorship moments, each one teach one. We are the village. Are you ready to talk about COVID once and for all on this show? Let's get it out the way right now. Let's go.
Sometimes you just gotta make it happen. Gonna make it happen. Gonna make it happen. Just make it happen. Just make it happen. Just make it happen.
All right, welcome back to Mentorship Moments. Each one, teach one. Facebook fam will be up in a second. YouTube listeners, we are up. Hello, my LinkedIn family. I'm putting it on and putting it in. We are getting it going. Listen, today we are going to talk about COVID-19, and we're going to kill all the myths. We're going to answer all the questions that we can answer, right here, right now. And I did bring the backup to the studio. I brought my special guest, return guest, Dr. Suzanne Cutter in the building from CUREtology. We'll introduce her in a second, but we are going to go right into our sponsorships and give some shout outs first. First of all, we're going to give a shout out to Mutual Realty Consultants. I got a little surprise for you guys at Mutual Realty Consultants, and here is the surprise. Eva, if you can come on up and bring me my props, if you don't mind. I appreciate you. Oh, awesome. First, we will put on the hat. All right. For my YouTube fam listening to Facebook, you're going to catch this glory in a second. Then, I'm going to give you a special surprise. I have promised Ulysses S. Carter of Mutual Realty Consultant that I would try to come up with a jingle. And I even brought an instrument with me. All right. First of all, let's just get this out the way first. When you need a certified probate real estate trust, real estate specialist, you need to call Ulysses S. Carter. And her number is 213-804-3369. That's 213-804-3369. Ulysses Carter. That's a 5-star experience. And guys, shouts out to Ulysses S. Carter. I got to get my little mini jingle. Here it is. Mutual Realty Consultants. You are the best. Done. All right. That is the limit of my musical talent. Now, Ulysses, you got hooked up, man. Now, if you want to sponsor this show, man, I'm going to hook your business up. Let me tell you what. I'm already doing business with Ulysses Carter. It's amazing. I can't wait for the new project that we're working on together. I only have credible guests on my show, and that's how we are going to roll. So right now, we are going to go on a quick commercial break. This is CJ's Functional Fitness, where you don't have to be a fighter to feel like one. Then we will get into the message.
In life, we all have opponents to prepare for. But you don't have to be a fighting champion to defeat your current condition. You don't need to be the ultimate anything to tap out the stressors in life. But what if I told you that mastering your physical well-being, like a fighter, directly relates to mastering the obstacles in your daily life? The only challenger that awaits you is yourself. Do you accept your challenge? I'm CJ, and this is CJ's Functional Fitness, where you don't have to be a fighter to feel like one. So let's train.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Mentorship Moments. Each one, teach one. We are the village. Hey, now it's time for some shout outs. Listen, I've got some special anniversary shouts out. And yes, technology works. I've worked it on my event page and it is absolutely working like a charm. Good. Thank you all for all that's listening. Feel free to chime in. I'm just going to do a quick view and share. Give me just a second and we'll get this out to everybody. Live video share, and I'm going to share it on my news feed, and it's on, and you guys can view us live right there. For those of you that have questions, you can call in again. For those that's now on my feed that are on now, the number is 323-815-4204. We are talking COVID-19, but before we get into this guest, she's like sitting here shaking because she's ready to give you these facts. I gotta give some birthday shout outs, but first, Eva, can you do me a big favor? Can you give us the birthday shout outs?
Birthday shout outs. I have anniversary shout outs.
Oh man, You're right.
We got anniversary shout outs to Brian and Sheila celebrating their 40th anniversary.
40th anniversary. I still got to have them on the show when we have our next love show, because that's 40 years of loving. Brian and Sheila, we love you. Happy anniversary. All right, who we got next?
And we have Kim and JC, or Julio, better known as JC. And I believe they're celebrating 26 years together.
JC and Julio celebrating 26 years together. Oh my God, I know y'all.
JC and Kim.
Did I say JC and Julio?
Yes, you did.
It must have been an argument we had before we started this show. I'm going to share this with you guys. They got me I got tag team and I got beat up. And I need some healing. So right. JC and Kim, yes. I didn't mean to call you Julio, but I love you guys. Happy 26. I got that right, anniversary.
Yes.
And I forgot Dion had disappeared into Cancun. I forgot why. Him and Santasha, happy anniversary. You guys, I think you have 24 or 25 on just like we do. Awesome. Do we have anything else? Am I missing anything?
We're missing. What about the CJ event coming up?
Oh my God. Yes. Poetess, if you can put my event up. I'm having an event August 28th. Oh my God, that is smoking hot. And I just came up with the idea. No, it's been in my mind for years, but I finally just decided to go ahead and do it. I'm starting a once a month series, a speaker series called Foundational Principles of Success. Foundational Principles of Success. It's going to be done live at CJ's Functional Fitness Studios at 15703 Condon Avenue, Suite C3, but we'll also have a Zoom link, and we'll talk about that as it progresses. Now, the goal is, if you have a young man or young woman that's just been riding the fence and not knowing what to do with their life and never had that conversation, maybe you didn't have time to give them the conversation of success, I have scheduled speakers to give those conversations of success, the principles. I'm speaker one, of course, since I'm the CEO of the CJ's Functional Fitness Foundation. We're going to be talking about grooming your gifts. Grooming your gifts. And I'm the speaker, and guess what? The cost is free $99. This is to raise a village. This is to have those successful conversations with our youth. We will talk about that later. If you have more questions, you can email me or RSVP at cj.functional@gmail.com, cj.functional@gmail.com, or hit me up right here on LinkedIn if you know a young person that would love to sit in. I think I'm only going to be able to take about 15 to 20 for each series. The next series, I'm hoping to have Richard Jurgen, former college football player, who turned business mogul. I'm hoping to have a Day Lamar from a celebrity from KJLH. Hoping to have people like Tammy Mack, 3-time NAACP award winner. I've got the guests. I've got the backup. I've got the speakers. Half of them said yes. Half of them don't know they said yes yet. But every month, a new speaker on a new topic. I got Officer Dion Joseph. We're going to talk about police relationships the right way. Everything for our youth to thrive and survive. I started this with a dream, and I'm going to see this through. God bless you guys. I can't wait to put this out and put this on. Baby, am I missing anything else? Oh, special shout out. If I'm missing, I see you standing up, ready to beat me up. Special shout out to the Black Health Trust. All right, I see Dr. Cutter here. She's one of the board members of the Black Health Trust. One thing I love about the Black Health Trust is they've been talking about having multiple series on COVID-19. And it's a series of doctors that look like you and me. Now, I say to my white people that are listening and enjoying the show, you're not learning from us. You're learning through us. We're just another human being vessel, another perspective how to put this information out there. So every Sunday, Google the Black Health Trust. Runs about from 12 noon on Sundays. And they've been just slaying it on COVID-19. So I had to steal one of the members and bring him right here, a return guest to the show. Eva, one more thing. I know I'm almost getting close to 50 now. Am I losing my marbles? Am I missing anything else before we get started?
I think that's it. Ready to go.
All right. Are you ready, guys? Well, here it is. Let me introduce my guest to you guys. And, I read the whole bio last time, but since she's a return guest, I will definitely resend that other episode. My guest today, and who also has her own show here at Morris Media Studios, is Dr. Suzanne Cutter of CUREtology, also a member of the Black Health Trust. She is a surgical oncologist. Awesome. www.curetology.com. I'm going to put that on the screen early, and we're going to put it there on the end. Licensed in multiple states, including Arizona, New York, Colorado, Los Angeles, taught nationally and internationally in her field, and once again, a returning guest. I needed her because some of y'all on LinkedIn that I've been doing battle with, some of y'all on Facebook, some of y'all who wear the badge just kicking my butt with my strong opinion. Well, let me bring the facts, and you get to ask the doctor right here. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, hey, it's on and popping for the rest of the way. Dr. Suzanne Cutter. The cat's evil, everybody, standing ovation.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Listen.
And I just have to say, I didn't know that we were all going to get serenaded in the studio.
You didn't know?
With
Oh
the
my
guitar. God. And, I was expecting you to jump off with some kind of rap or something, but you went country.
I went country.
I mean,
Yeah.
It was refreshing, okay? It was refreshing. So we cannot stereotype you.
Doctor,
you will not be limited.
You are here to present the facts. That was absolutely horrible. But it got the point across. If it made you laugh and it got the word out, Yulita says Carter, it's on the Cracker Mutual Realty Consultants. Meow, meow. All right, here we go. Let's go. Oh my God, that's embarrassing. But I appreciate it. That's very flattering of you, doctor. All right, not the conversation we had before the show started. All right, anyway. Let's get right down to business. I know we're having a lot of good chuckles, and you are a trusted member, a guest on this show, and I appreciate having you slated when it came to cancer and relating that link to health and the need to be healthy. But it also correlates as into the season of COVID-19. I've been dealing with, I'm frustrated. I've been so stressful. I had Dr. Nelson on to deal with stress because I'm frustrated with the climate of just how we as human beings in advanced technology are distrusting of science. And with misinformation, I understand why. But instead of judging, I just want to put the facts out there about COVID-19. So I'm going to throw a series of questions out there, and I know you know how to take it and flow and rap with it.
Let's
you got the hip hop thing. Let's have a little fun with it.
Let's have some fun.
She might stump me try to stump me with a question. She's done it
Never,
before.
Never.
Man.
We're here to learn and share and grow.
Well, doctor, I got a question for you. The first question, and we'll let it go from there. And Eva, if you want to chime in, because I know you're a teacher and you just got back with your mandates, all right? As a doctor,
we have to talk about the mandates at some point. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
We are.
We're going to hit that.
No more commercial breaks to the end. And then if you have questions, you have the number to call. We'll put the number on the screen. This is your chance right now. I have a doctor here. As a doctor, Dr. Cutter, can you tell our listeners what COVID-19 is? Just tell us what it is, for those that just absolutely don't know or just think it's the flu.
So COVID-19 is a virus, and a virus is a bit different than, getting an infection from bacteria or something like that, just because of how it affects us. Bacteria kind of swim in the body and do their thing by, attacking this and attacking that. But what viruses do is they say, hey, this cell looks pretty good. I'm just going to take it over and run its machinery. So they kind of take us over cell by cell. So that's how a virus works.
Okay. And what's the difference between a flu virus, because that's a virus too, and initially, that's how we've been operating. Oh, it's just a flu initially. Oh, just step out in the sun, it'll go away. What is the difference between just the basic flu and what happens when you get to with COVID-19?
Well, I was trying to think of a really good analogy for differences in viruses, and I think it's kind of like the differences between, let's say, something like a dog. Like you could have a poodle and a golden retriever, but they're different, right? They're different sizes, they have different behaviors. Some are really good at fetching, some are just cute and cuddly and you rub them and things like that. So there's different characteristics associated with each virus. So even though they're both dogs, right, they're not the same dog. They're different types of dogs. And even if they're the same breed, they're a little bit different, animal to animal.
Well, why is this dog so dangerous? What made me even change from, hey, this is just the flu, I'm healthy, to, oh my God, we have to do something? What is the difference between this one from your knowledge?
So, maybe this dog is a Rottweiler. And hey, no shade to people who are Rottweiler lovers and things like that, but they're good, strong, they're buff dogs, right? They work out, they train. They're a little bit, different than, your typical Irish setter. They have different principles and different factors within them. So, this virus really is somewhat unknown to us.
Okay.
Right? And I think that's part of the issue. If you look at 1918 and 1919, the flu virus was unknown, right? We didn't know what to do with the flu. People were dying left and right. Millions died. The veterans brought this back from the war, spread it all over the world, and millions of people died from this thing that we didn't know anything about. Fast forward, over 100 years, we've got a vaccine for it. The difference is now COVID came, everybody's like, what the heck is this? But we quickly got vaccine. So we have now compressed, that time period for vaccine development to fight something like this to a shorter period of time.
But is that attributed to technological advancements, or that the template was already there to make this happen for even the next virus? Or would it have been better if we just waited another 100 years till they got it right and everybody's dead? See, I'm opinionated.
We got it right and everybody's dead. I love it. So, I think you hit the nail on the head with both of those. There was a technology in the laboratory looking for an application, and that was this whole mRNA approach. I do have a little image to show you guys that kind of compares some of the vaccines. It's that table that I sent to the directors here. But what that table does is it really shows kind of some of the differences between the vaccines. And if you look at, it's the table with a lot of words. We'll get to that one. But what it does is the Moderna, that's a pretty good one. So if you look at the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines, they have kind of like a similar dosing profile. And if you look at the line that says type of vaccine technology, you see that mRNA. What we used to do with a lot of vaccines is we would use other viruses and we'd kill them, or we'd send like some deactivated component of what we were trying to build immunity to, and we would put that in people, and people would have a reaction to it and all of those things. So the benefit of this mRNA is, and then you can go 2 slides up, is that it really helps the body to program against the spike.
Okay.
Just the spike of COVID-19. And the spike is just one of the components, so kind of like, a Rottweiler's paw. So it's like, oh, well, we recognize that paw, so we know it's a Rottweiler, so we have to take care of it. It's the same kind of thing. Here's a spike, and the immune system says, we know that's COVID-19, so we know what to do with it. We're gonna get after it.
Doctor, I had a, was it a LinkedIn? No, it was a Facebook conspiracy theorist, I call them.
All right.
That sent me a video of a doctor saying that, yeah, exactly what you said, the Rottweiler analogy, but he also said that...
They used my Rottweiler. I thought I created that just
now.
Well,
you used Rottweiler, but he used X's and O's like a football screen.
Okay, yeah, that's
And he
lovely.
said, well, once the vaccine's in, that's all it can fight, and it tells all the other antibodies or your DNA to stop fighting the other stuff. And I said, wait a minute, that doesn't even make sense. We've had polio vaccines, we've had, but it was like this 15-minute, I call it waste of my life video, that was like, he used X's and O's, and I'm like, man, you are scaring thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that don't really understand science. So now he's saying we get this vaccine, that it will kill off, it'll kill off COVID, but that's it. It won't kill off anything else. In fact, it'll stop killing other things because it's only looking for COVID. When you hear stuff like this, do you hear arguments like that in the medical field where you're from?
No. I've never even heard that.
Did you see how she said no?
No. I'm sorry. I actually ran into one of my infectious disease colleagues today, and we were talking about the vaccine and COVID and everything. when you're in an environment where you've got a lot of other specialists and things like that, me being a specialist, we tend to talk a lot and we educate each other on things. You want to be open to new information, and these are the people, the infectious disease physicians are the ones that are on the front line. They're communicating with CDC and all of those things. They have the up to the minute, data on all of these things. So I think that that's a good source. So whenever you see these videos and things like that, check the source. Who is this person? What is their specialty? What's their background, their training? This person may be a doctor, but they might be a PhD. They may be a PhD in another field. Like you don't really quite know. So I think, I know you want to go over things that I recommend, but one of the most important things I even tell my cancer patients, because they're like, I don't know how to pick a doctor. I don't know who to choose. Find somebody that you trust, okay? And once you put your faith in that physician, kind of ride that out. Because even though they may not have all the information today or what have you, they'll advocate for you. They'll find a way to get you that information. So get your information from trusted sources, not random videos and, memes and things like that people send around. Like, really know the source that you're getting it from. I think that's important, just to know your source.
Well, let's go back to the beginning with the segments of population that it affects the most. In your profession, your experience, who is it? Is it a cultural thing? Is it a health thing? Let's review. Who is it affecting the most initially? Non-vaccinated.
Which of the non-vaccinated is
Yes.
it affecting? Or
if we never had a vaccine, who was the population that COVID is affecting the most?
Well, initially it was the elderly, right? They seem to be the most vulnerable. So there were a lot of different vaccination plans developed by different geographies, but then everybody kind of scrapped those plans and said, let's get the elderly vaccinated. So if you remember when it first rolled out, it was like 65 and older.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't always know why certain people are vulnerable. You think, okay, because they're older or what have you. But I'm going to tell you, I have 3 elderly relatives that got COVID, and it didn't touch them. I was surprised. One of them is a super healthy 91-year-old, walks every day, cancer survivor, macrobiotic diet for years and all that. She was fine. Her sister, relatively healthy and everything. She kind of had some flu-like symptoms. So, the 91-year-old took care of the 86, 87-year-old, right? It was incredible.
I want to meet that person.
And the only thing that happened to the 91-year-old is she was running up and down the stairs to take care of her sister, and she fell and broke her hip. Okay,
not
but she's
COVID
fine. The COVID didn't, she got COVID, it didn't touch her. And then another relative who's 86, 87, she has diabetes, hypertension, former smoker, she's slender now. And it didn't touch her. Why not? We don't know. So we don't know for sure. I mean, they fit into the high-risk categories. They're a certain age. One of them had the comorbidities, and they're all African-American, but they're not lower income. None of them are. So we only know what we're observing at this point. It's going to take, I think, years to really synthesize this data and get down to the nitty-gritty, more definite things. So we're just kind of in an observation mode, and we're gathering statistics. And so we just need to understand that.
So as far as catching the virus, asymptomatic or not, is it a culture thing? I'm noticing that I believe all races and cultures have their ignorance. I'm seeing people flooding beaches, catching it in Florida. I'm seeing people, we think California, we're doing it right. I'm seeing people, no, I'm going to church and catching it. We had one case where 7 people in the church caught it. Where I work, people are catching it left and right, and they have their first responders. They have to be out there. So it does not matter class or culture or age. Does it really matter?
Well, I think some people would say that, socioeconomic status may be a factor because, people in a lower socioeconomic status tend to have reduced access to good medical care, consistent medical care, nutrition, hydration, all those things that are important, exercise, and so then they're more vulnerable just overall, right? Some people might argue that. We know that people who are obese have a much higher risk. I mean, you and I, we did a panel together on Black Health Trust, and we really talked about COVID and obesity, and we went through the orthopedic implications, oncology, cancer implications, as well as, pregnancy and women and aging implications. So we kind of hit that 360, and there's a huge, huge vulnerability. And we know why that is because, it's more difficult to circulate in an obese body, and the milieu is different. It's a pro-inflammatory environment. And on top of that, there's problems with insulin resistance and some other factors that predisposes those people who fit into the obesity category to developing COVID.
Wow, great. This is awesome. Hey, we have a phone call. Yes, welcome to the I almost said CJ's Functional Fitness Show. Mentorship Moments, each one teach one. That's the undercover name, the DBA. Welcome to the show. What's your name, listener?
Michael?
Hey, Michael, how are you? It's great to have you on the show. Do you have any questions for Dr. Cutter?
Hey, Michael.
Hello, I do. You mentioned earlier about, the flu. And I guess my question is, will this ever become like because not everybody gets a flu shot, right? But it doesn't kill people like it used to. Will COVID eventually one day maybe be so weak that it may be like the flu? Some people go get a shot and some people don't.
Well, I don't want you to think that just because not as many people are dying from the flu that it's weaker. It's just that we have a vaccination program, it's annual, and that is what is minimizing the mortality associated with that. So, COVID may continue to evolve just like the flu does. I mean, if you think about it, remember that really rough year, what was that, H1N1?
H1N1,
That was a rough year, for flu fighting, and there was, that one was out of control, so they had to kind of revamp the vaccine for the next year. So I could see conceivably a similar thing happened until, maybe it will disappear kind of the way that polio disappeared and all that. Of course, we're seeing the resurgence in things like polio and some other things because there's a cadre of people who don't believe in vaccinations. So, we can see a resurgence.
Go ahead, Mike. You ought to follow up.
Well, just like a lot of people see, the flu now is not a big deal. And I myself, I don't go get flu shots, and I don't get it. Would COVID fall into that category one day where, just some people get it and some people don't? Would you ever see it being on equal ground as the flu as far as danger? Like right now, COVID is obviously dangerous, and flu isn't even hardly in the news. Do you ever see it one day being on the same ground?
Can I piggyback on that, Mike? Someone put this to me this way: would our bodies evolve to okay, it's just COVID, you'll get over it, baby. Little Robitussin will take care of it. Will it be similar to that in the future?
I don't even really know
Mike.
If the flu is truly in that category. I mean, we don't really realize how many people do die from the flu. A lot of people die from the flu.
Yes,
true. Okay,
we
we just don't talk about it anymore because we are expecting, X number of people die annually from the flu, right? So I don't want anybody sitting here thinking, oh, the flu's no big deal. It is a big deal. It's a huge deal, and that's why, again, the elderly population is recommended to get it, and some other people who have comorbidities, obesity being one of them, and some other things. So, we could imagine that there's going to be a time when we're not as sensitized to COVID, when we know more about it, and I think that's really what it is. We just started experiencing this a bit over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, so we're still learning about it. And so when we get more knowledge, then I think there'll be a greater comfort level and we'll know the parameters.
That's a good point.
So it's just a matter, I think it's familiarity with the flu, not that the flu has changed.
Right. Well, Mike, that's an excellent question, and thank you for the courage to call, because we're just here. I just brought the guest to answer the question. It can't come from me because I'm just a layman trainer guy. I brought the doctor. Yeah. Mike, thank you so much for calling, okay? Call again on our next show. I'll see you in 2 weeks. God bless you, man. Thank you. Awesome. Great job, doctor. You see, that's why I brought the doctor to the show. Woo. And Mike, thank you for the call. Oh, quick shout out to our friends in Canada, Bonnie McDonald, watching in Merritt, Canada. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. We got another show in 2 weeks, so stay tuned. Stay on. When we jump on live on YouTube, fam, it's going to be on and cracking. Hey, share this out there with my peeps in Canada. In fact, my wife is from Canada. She's from Montreal, Quebec, so she's got fam out there, and I have fam watching out there too. Thank you so much. Oh, doctor, are you ready for the next
Wait a minute.
question?
Is your wife fluent in French because she's from Quebec?
Do you still speak a little French? Because that's...
A little bit.
Oh,
A petit peu?
Parlez-vous français?
I thought that's how you romanced her. No? I mean, you didn't speak a little French to her, woo her this way.
It was nothing but quirky jokes. Okay, I was Steve Urkel.
She's a nerd lover and proud of it. 'Cause
she's a
so
nerd
happy.
lover. All right,
That's beautiful.
I had this atrocious beard that I thought one little strand, and oh my God, overall. I'll share the story our next love show.
Okay.
All right, because we were fighting before the show. Boy, I ain't gonna
No,
tell
they
you about
weren't.
that.
I started trouble by making a joke, and it just kind of took on a life of its own. They love each other. They're fine. I started some
I
trouble.
took out the trash. Anyway.
And that's what it was. It was like,
Oh,
I took out the trap one day, so I win for the rest of the year. Like, no, you don't.
Happy anniversary.
And just for the record, like I said, no man can babysit his own children, okay? I don't want to hear any other father say that. I babysat the other day. You can't. It's impossible. to babysit your
Sadia
kids.
Sanders, the urban spinner, she's listening. She also co-hosts from time to time with me. She's listening. She's our single life expert. She's just blowing a gasket right now. She's like, I am not getting married. Take out the trash. All right, now we gotta get back to business.
Okay, let's do it.
Is it good to have this in tough times like these? It's good to have these moments. And Mike, thanks for calling, guys. Anybody else out there? You have the number to call. Have the courage to call and get your questions. You know, I don't care if you're a believer or non-believer. Let's get the facts from a trusted source. Okay, so we talked about asymptomatic, and you covered that very well. What about people that have suffered through it and barely lived through it? What are some of the effects immediately and some of the long-lasting effects of COVID once they survive it?
You know, at the beginning, what we mostly saw was a lot of issues with respiratory problems afterwards, right? People just continued to have some respiratory issues. Some went home on oxygen. Some needed more respiratory support before they could leave the hospital. Then it kind of devolved a little bit. And then people like me, who I covered acute care surgery sometimes, and so what we started to see is the effects of blood clots, for lack of a better term, things circulating into the body, so then causing problems. So I saw from a surgical standpoint things like pancreatitis, appendicitis, a little cholecystitis, patients who had both at the same time. But then we were also seeing that people were developing strokes, and they were having, problems with these blood clots going to a variety of places. So again, we're learning more about how this works, and maybe that is related to the immune system. I mean, this is me, just kind of speculating. Maybe there's some issue with, the immune system's trying to fight it off. It's in the blood, so it's forming, these antibody-antigen complexes, and that's how the immune system, one of the ways the immune system works. There's something that irritates the immune system, and so it kind of clumps onto that, and that clumping kind of forms these blood clots, perhaps, I don't know. And then that's what is causing some of the issues. So those are some of the things that we're seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about people like we talked about smoking, how smokers, their lungs didn't recover after. I know some friends that to this day, they recovered from COVID like 4 months ago.
Right.
And they still can't get a full breath. It feels
Right.
like one of my lungs are like horrible. Can you explain why does it not go away like the phlegm that flu does?
So I don't necessarily think that the COVID is still active per se, but sometimes it's not the infection that's the problem. It's the damage done while the infection is present. And some damage you can't get back from. A very good example of this that I think a lot of people might be familiar with is pancreatitis.
Yes.
You develop pancreatitis, and there's a lot of inflammation, right? So that inflammation kind of circulates, kind of locally in the body and breaks down tissues and everything. It just starts beating things up. The pancreatitis can go away, but everything's still kind of beaten up. It has to recover. So I think it's a similar thing with COVID and some of these people who have vulnerable lungs. All of us have these organs with a tremendous amount of capacity, right? We don't need 100% of the lung capacity that we have. We need much less than that. Okay. But if you're a person who was a smoker and you've damaged your lungs, now you've got 100% minus X. Mm-hmm. And then let's say COVID takes away Y. Now you have 100% minus X and minus Y.
Wow.
So now you're diminished. So somehow your body has to say, well, can I live off of 100 minus X and minus Y? Or do I really need some of that? And so I'm just going to struggle from here on out. And that's what I think you're seeing with people as the body tries to remodel certain areas. The lungs don't remodel very well. They become fibrotic. Sometimes they become stiff, things like that. So it just depends on what the baseline was. So that's why it's good to pursue good health, right?
Yeah.
To work out with somebody like you, follow good health and wellness patterns, that somebody like me can talk to you about, and get your body prepared for whatever may come what may, right?
Well, you hit on something. I want to talk about health real quick, but you mentioned something about mandates earlier, and you kind of pinged on it. So I want to get on that a little bit, because we have some mad people that are upset about mandates. We talked about war. This is war. So first of all, let's get this question. When it comes to, like, what are some of the basic things? Now, we talked about health.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what we ingest, vitamins. What are some of the basic things we need to do to protect ourselves to prevent it, if you're just absolutely not going to get the vaccine? Because I'm not judging. I mean, personally, I just think we should. But some people just aren't. And they talk about things like vitamin D, zinc. And in your opinion, along with health and staying healthy physically, what are some of the things we need to be putting in our bodies to combat anything, even COVID, or build up our immune system?
Okay, I really do want to talk about this issue of mandates
Okay,
and
you want to talk about it now?
and all that. But I'm going to answer your question first,
Then we're going to go
and then
into
we're going to loop back, okay? Because that's going to be a whole different conversation.
Yes.
So, first of all, I want you to focus on your immune system. Okay, what feeds the immune system? We know we need vitamin C, we need, cofactors like zinc and all of that. But really, it's more than that. When I talk to my patients who have cancer and they're like, what can I do? Oh my gosh, are there things I should eat? Are there certain habits? I have 7 factors, 7, that I discuss with them. Nutrition, exercise, rest, relationships. That means, having either positive relationships or being able to manage relationships in a positive way, no matter what they are. Organ detoxification, exercise, and your environment. I think I hit all 7. If I missed one, let me know, and then I'll loop back. But I talk about all of those, and I give some guidelines about that, and I talk to people about how they can, achieve these things. But, you can't say, well, I'm going to drink more water, but I'm still going to eat fast food and food with chemicals.
Wow.
Or I'm going to walk every day for 30 minutes, but I'm not going to sleep at night, and I'm going to scream and yell at my spouse. Like, that doesn't go together. So these are like lifestyle changes.
You hear that, Eva?
Just like little, she loves her husband. Stop it. Stop it. These are not like, oh, I'm going to carve out this little piece. No, this is like a lifestyle change. This is an approach, a general approach to your health and your wellness. So that's what I recommend to people. I don't think there is a good panacea for any illness. I think you have to make these global changes to put your body in a position where it's not as impacted if you do get an illness.
Okay.
That's my general philosophy.
I like it, but I know you're chomping off at the bit to get to the good stuff.
Whenever you're ready.
The big controversy is mandates. Now, in the initial stages, as long as we as Americans or globally are trying to do the best we can to kill this thing, I'm perfectly fine with that. We don't need mandates. We're all masked up. We're taking care of ourselves. We're social distancing. But stuff changed this new season. Now that we've got the vaccines all over the country, and like some people have taken it, but there are still millions of unused vaccines out there. And now schools, work, they're beginning to impose mandates. And some people are extremely upset. All right. Your thoughts? I said mandates. You got excited. You go, doctor. You go.
So, if the control panel, the director can show us those 4 pillars that I had, and they're the kind of the 4 pillars of medical ethics. And they talk about, what's good in terms of how we interact and communicate with patients. Do you have that to show? It's those 4 pillars. It looks like a building. But one is autonomy, so I think autonomy is big, and that just means that people get to choose what they do. It's kind of like, if I say you need surgery for your cancer and you say you don't want it, I can't make you do it, right? It's up to you. I'm going to give you all the information. Maybe you get a second opinion. The next is beneficence. That means that you want to do things in the best interest of the patient. And then the third one is non-maleficence. You do no harm, in short. And then the last one is justice. And justice means that, people get equal access to health care. And that's really what healthcare disparities is fighting against, right, is the lack of justice. So the reason why I bring this up is patient autonomy, human autonomy is a big deal. People really need to have the right to choose. What we're trying to do, though, is maintain justice, because certain people's choices is impacting the justice for everyone involved. You get my point?
No, I get it totally.
So that's really what the issue is. And so I really champion patient autonomy. I think people should be able to choose not to get the vaccine, but, you know, unfortunately in this situation, there's going to be some consequences, you know, and I think the most important thing that somebody can do right now, in my opinion, is mask up, right?
Right.
To wear a mask. We know that people who have been vaccinated can be carriers.
Yes.
They get infected, they can get sick. They don't get as sick, but they can get sick. They may not end up in the ICU, but they do end up in the hospital sometimes, you know. So, you know, nobody is without any risk out there, right? So if some people are like, well, look, if I get the vaccine and I'm still at risk, then I'm not going to get it. Well, you know, the people who get the vaccine are not going to have as bad of an illness. The people who don't get the vaccine, and this is on average, and get the illness have a worse outcome. And unfortunately, what we're starting to see is the numbers are creeping up. You know, you guys haven't heard about it in the news, but as physicians, this is what we're seeing. So there's, you know, some places are starting to talk about shutting down elective surgeries again because, you know, there's not enough intensivists and things like that. And by the way, what's happening with these infections, think about it. It's kind of like you know, the world or the country has been flogging the healthcare system.
Wow.
Beating up on especially the nurses. The nurses are there, you know, 24 hours a day dealing with your stuff, America. You know, like whatever you're dishing out. If you're in a bad
Listen,
mood
America.
or whatever, which I really don't like nurses to be mistreated. And so, you know, there's a lot of fatigue associated with that. So nurses are quitting.
Okay.
You know, they're quitting their job. So by the way, if you're looking for a job in a new field, you should really go into nursing because there's a huge nursing shortage. And it used to be that if needs increased in a hospital, there were plenty of people to hire, travelers, everything. There's almost nobody left to hire. Okay, so we're running out of human capital, let alone the physicians, the people who clean that room, that COVID room, now that that person has recovered, the people who do food service, all of these jobs. These jobs are, you know, really lacking people. People are exhausted.
My goodness.
So now there's another wave coming. We can see it. You know, it's starting to build. And so that's really one of the dangers of this next wave is that there's a lot of exhaustion. People haven't had vacations. You know, I realized, you know, in, what was it, June?
Doc, real quick, we
Yeah.
don't want to ignore the caller. Felicia's like, ooh.
Oh, there's a caller.
Okay. Hello, caller. This is the Mentorship Moments Each One Teach One show. I'm your host, CJ, and I have the guest, the backup, Dr. Cutter. What's your name, sir or ma'am?
Hello, CJ. This is DeMarlon Dean. How are you?
Hey, DeMarlon, how you doing? Hey, do you have a question for the good doc?
Hey,
I
DeMarlon.
absolutely do. Hello. Couple of things, and you've actually touched on them a little bit.
Okay.
But I like a little more detail. So, you know, part of, I think the issue is so much misinformation out there, so people don't trust anything that they're hearing. So they're, or believing what they want to believe instead of doing the research. But you see the folks that are often talking about the ineffectiveness of masks because the virus particles are smaller than what most of our masks are actually filtering out. So I'd like for you to speak to that, how the masks are still effective, one. And then two is you have people that are saying, hey, there are these proven treatments that are effective that people are not talking about when folks are admitted or they're getting really sick. They're being treated with these other types of situations, and they're getting a 90 or 95% recovery rate and things like that. So are those types of that type of anecdotal information, is that just wrong? Is that just lies, or is there truth to that is not being shared with the public for whatever reason? So I just wanted to get your thoughts on those two things.
You know, I want to take kind of the last element of what you said first, and you said not being shared with the public for whatever reason. I really don't get the sense that anything major like that is being withheld. You know, I think that, you know, you have to be careful about what you put out to the public because the public is going to sometimes take things as gospel and they're going to hold on to it. So I think the CDC is being very careful about what it puts out. I think the NIH is being very careful about what it puts out. And so I don't really get the sense that things are being intentionally withheld. You know, I will say that in terms of treatments being 95% effective, I don't really think that there's any treatment that people feel is extraordinarily reliable to the extent where, hey, if anybody gets COVID, we've got something to treat them with, no problem, have at it. I don't really think that there is a treatment like that. I think there's treatment protocols. Those protocols vary across the country. You know, I was talking earlier about my family members who have gotten COVID, and, you know, I got a chance to talk to physicians out in Atlanta and then, you know, some in Ohio and things like that. And each area kind of has a different protocol. And it's not a fault or anything like that, but there's so much that's not known. So it really depends on what geography you're in, what the weather is like, what the patterns are in terms of vaccinations, the socioeconomic status, the environment that you're living in, what your risk is as an individual, and that will determine really what kind of treatment might be effective. So you really can't rely on, you know, these anecdotal stories because it may not really apply to you. You know, that's just like telling somebody who lives in a snow area that these are the best sandals and you should wear them year round. Okay? There's snow. Okay? You know, that's not for you. That's for the people that live in Florida, you know, and vice versa. Wear these winter boots with the fur because they're going to keep you warm. By the way, it doesn't get any colder than 70 degrees in this place. So why do I need these furry boots? So that would be my response to that. I think there was a first part of your question that I'm not recalling right now. What was the first part of your question?
Well, that answers pretty much that. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking. I just don't feel like there's this mass conspiracy to keep the general public in the dark. It just doesn't make sense. The other part was about the mask itself. You know, you hear, yes,
the
it's
particles.
effective. No, it's not effective. Yeah, but here the particle size of the virus is smaller than what the mask can filter. And I have my own, you know, not theory, but, you know, I think part of the effectiveness of the mask is it reduces the number of particles that may be transmitted, which, you know, increases the fewer particles that are in there, that increases your likelihood of not actually, you know, catching the virus or being affected by the virus. But, you know, you still see that, hey, the virus particle is 0.0014, whatever microns, and this mask can only filter out, you know, X. I don't know the exact numbers, but you know, I'd just like for you to speak to that.
I really think that you explained it quite well.
Dude,
you know,
you're
it's
the
based
man.
on the particle size and, you know, all of those. Are you a scientist?
I am not. I am. I wish I were.
You're just
No, I'm
well
not.
read. That's good.
Man, DeMarlon, I appreciate you, man. You went out there and you did the research. Not many people are going that
They're
deep.
not doing that, but you did go deep, and you're right. It is about the micron size and the type of mask, but just keep in mind there's a lot of different masks floating around out there. And one important thing about what you're bringing up is not all masks are created equal. Some of them are medical grade. Some of them are not medical grade, and just because it's a mask that looks like a mask, it may not be effective. However, what we do know is there is some percentage blocking of the particle spread based on having a mask. So let's say that the N95, and I'm going to make up these numbers, but let's say the N95 mask is 95%, but like your medical grade blue mask might be 80%. The regular mask that most people can get on the street that looks like a medical grade mask might be 75%. And then the black cloth mask that a lot of people wear, that might be 60%. But 60% is better than 0%. So why not take that precaution?
Wow.
You know, you're giving up an advantage, okay? I also want to speak to this whole conspiracy thing because
Thank you. That's my next question.
You're going to be surprised by my answer.
Oh, am I going to be mad, Dr.
You might be mad at Dr. Cutter, but
Ooh, thank you, DeMarlon. Thank you very
so much, DeMarlo. I'm going to take this on a tangent. We appreciate you. But let me just talk about conspiracy theories for a moment. Like, I completely get why there's segments of the population that have these concerns about conspiracy theories. I don't know if you guys have heard of a book, but it's called Medical Apartheid. There's a PhD, I think she's from Washington, D.C., that decided to chronicle all of this medical experimentation and fraudulent treatment of people of color over about 150 to 200 year period. Like everything. It's beyond Tuskegee. It's, you know, HeLa cells. It's everything. And there's a lot of very poignant stories and situations in there. So I can understand why some people are concerned, why they do feel like there could be a conspiracy and there's something happening to, you know, certain segments of the population and all of that. So, you know, I actually started thinking about this.
Yeah, okay.
Because I knew you would be like, well, wait a minute. So I feel like this, if you want a vaccine and you're not trusting what's happening in your neighborhood, go to another neighborhood and get it, right? You can go to a drugstore, a pharmacy. There's a million resources. You don't have to stay in your neighborhood and get it. Take the bus, take the train, take your friend's, Maserati and drive someplace else and go get what you feel that you need. So that's, hint number one. Number two, ask, a multitude of, find some doctors, some doctors, again, some referrals, get an infectious disease physician, whatever, find some other sources to get some information and things like that. You mentioned it earlier, there's the Black Health Trust. That is a group of physicians that came together and is providing messaging actually ever since about February, March of 2020 on COVID-19. So they have had these weekly kind of broadcasts, and they have archived all of those. And so it's gone through, people from CDC, all kinds of places. There was even a health official from Florida who was on there, and he was talking about how, we don't have any disparities in Florida. It was very interesting. It was very interesting.
Oh, I can see it in your hearing your voice.
Physicians on the call were like, wait a minute.
Okay, bruh.
It became like a whole different discussion. It was very polite and professional, but he said that. And he was also saying that, the reason why, there's some groups that are not getting the vaccine, it's all hesitancy, everybody has equal access, but it was not true. People didn't have equal access.
True.
And actually here in LA, at the beginning, even physicians of color did not have equal access to the vaccine. So there's still disparities, it's still there, and if we try to act like there's no health disparities, that nothing is going wrong and everything is equal and fair, I think that's disingenuous. So I'm not going to participate in that. But I will say that there's a pathway for you to get what you need to be healthy and to survive.
Well, going down that road, that's always what motivated us as a people. Just go get it. Oh, you trying to keep this from me? We gonna go get it. But now we're just like, I always say, I'm a little more layman. I say, hey, look, if you're that scared, go stand next to a white person getting the vaccine. there's a good chance.
A lot of ministers said that. They said, if you're concerned about the vaccine, wait till they're giving it to people in the country clubs and the this and the that. So if you believe that, find a solution that kind of fits that fear, but don't do nothing. Everybody gets fearful and scared, right? But it's the people who are able to push through. Those are the people who achieve.
I want to read this from one of our YouTubes when we jumped on that mandate thing. Signing bonuses and employee referral bonuses, a bonus for nurses at a certain hospital. They have a vaccine mandate. Employees have until October to comply or risk losing their jobs unless there is a valid medical condition or religious excuse. So that's real. I believe I just received an email from my department notification from my other job of something similar. Well, you don't have to force me because I'll take the third one. I'm standing in line next to every white person I know. I'll stand right next to you.
Please stop with this third dose thing. Let's get the other people there first and second. That's what I have to say.
Oh my God. So that's a good point, my YouTube fam. Thank you very much. Now, here's a question, because for my people that are just that adamant, who, being that we're all human, or some of us are superhuman, who shouldn't get the vaccine? Who shouldn't?
People who have some type of immune deficiency, so some type of immune-related problem where they have a vulnerability. People who have certain types of illnesses don't really aren't good candidates for it. And, then that kind of puts them in a difficult state, because what do? They have to mask up all the time. Those people probably need an N95 all the time.
Wow.
And, you have to create a certain environment at home. And by the way, if you have people in your home, if you have guests, dating, I talked about dating on one show some time ago, whatever, people are going online, meeting people, what do you do when you date? Okay, so I'll stop.
Another YouTuber, 17 Clippers said, Clippers. Why take a vaccine that was not FDA approved for a virus with a 99% survival rate? Critical thinking is not conspiracy. What do you say to that?
I say patient autonomy. If you don't want the vaccine, that's fine. You don't have to take it. It's okay.
No judgment.
I really don't have any judgment, but you do need to take some precautions, right? You need to protect your family and other people around you, so you need to wear a mask and social distance and do all that stuff. The thing that I have an issue with is, and I'm not going to name the geography in LA, but they are just notorious for saying, we're not going to do anything and we have all the rights. And I'm not going to name the area, but they drive me crazy. But as soon as they get sick, they want to flood all the hospitals. Everybody else get behind me. I want to be first. So I just say you don't have to take anything, but you just accept the risk. If you get sick.
Yeah, no, that's and 17 Clifford, no judgment, no judgment. POTUS, I was looking at the camera angle. It looks a little strange on my Facebook. I just want to make sure everything's good.
And maybe it is a 95%, survivability rate. I don't know if that data is true or not, but keep in mind, you don't know who fits into the 5%. That could be you. You don't know your risk factors. Are you a smoker? Are you obese? What are your risk factors? So you may not be in that lucky group, or you may be a long hauler. We haven't talked about that, which means symptoms. There's long haul syndrome. So you get over the illness, you recover, but then you are still ill for months and months on end because it's what I said. Your body's still recovering from the virus. There's damage that's been done. People have this brain fog that's related to it.
Brain fog is huge.
It's a huge thing. So if you feel like, oh, I don't care if I have long haul syndrome or I have brain fog, I don't think the same way, great. That's what you want to do. But this is not, you're not going to necessarily go unscathed. So I'm not trying to frighten you, but you just need to understand the risk that you're taking.
Yeah, and I just want to say this. When I hear a conspiracy theorist or a critical thinker, and I'm not knocking, my next question is, are you a doctor or a scientist? And if the answer is no, then you haven't done the research. It's hard for me to take it seriously. So I get it. And again, I understand conspiracy theory. I understand we had the Tuskegee experiment that inject.
There's so many.
So many.
If you read that book, the book would blow your mind.
It would blow
your
your
mind. I usually
mind.
bring that book as a little prop, but it's called Medical Apartheid. It's got a red cover, and it's fairly well written, but it just chronicles all of these just egregious things just so clearly.
Yes, criminal.
And there's some people, there's like a famous, I'm not going to name him, but there's a famous OBGYN who really looked into, patients who have problems with, women who have problems with urinary incontinence and fistulas. Mm-hmm. And so, it was a big deal because of childbirth and how, the birthing canal and that whole process, there's like these fistulas that are created, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go into details in that. So what he decided to do is experiment on a bunch of African-American women without their consent.
Wow.
Painful procedure after painful procedure, trying to create a way to help the Caucasian women. And he did, and he is known as one of the fathers, the great fathers of OBGYN, and he did this reprehensible experimentation on these women. They were slaves actually at the time, and he had the slave owners lend them to him and stay in his experimentation quarters for up to 10 years.
Wow.
Stuff like, you would not believe these things. So I get the conspiracy theory thing. I totally do. And I'm not criticizing you for it, but you need to gather some information. And so just like that caller a couple callers ago who did all that reading, had his detail, why not do that?
No, exactly. And the thing is, again, goes back to that analogy of standing when we talk about the opioid crisis. Hey, when white people started getting addicted to opiate, the country got alert.
All of a sudden, drug addiction is a problem.
And guess what? We're going to be the benefit of that also.
Yeah.
So I want you to look at it like that way. And that's critical thinking also. We got 5 minutes left, Doc, so I'm trying to get to some of the more.
I'm talking too much.
No,
sorry,
you're not.
Guys.
Because we got to have a part 2, and I'll jump on your show for that one. I'll be the train. We'll do some push-ups while we're talking COVID. So how does, this is my question. I'll skip all these. How does a layman person like me get down to business like you when trying to motivate people to mask up, vaccinate without sounding stupid or sounding overly judgmental? Because I've been called that on LinkedIn, Facebook, and I say please, and it's just like, oh, you're treading my rights. How would help me explain to other members of my family who refuse? I don't know what I'm asking. I just need help, Doc. Help me explain. I
think autonomy is the biggest thing. If you can respect another person's autonomy,
right,
and still give your opinion, you're probably on the right track, right? And, also appeal to people's sense of justice. I'm just going to use those medical ethics where, making sure that what you're doing, if you choose to do whatever, that you're not impacting other people. That's the thing that I have an issue with.
I love that. That is deep. Real quick, if you guys like this show and you like the information that's been given, there are 2 ways you can donate to sustain the show. I appreciate my sponsors, Mutual Realty Consultants, but you can also give on Cash App, $CJ Functional, or Venmo, at CJ Functional. If you really appreciated the information, I'd appreciate it. I don't, I'm not like one of these preaching pimps, hey, just give me what feels good. If 5 feel good, give me 5. I got 5 on it, all right? It helps for the next season. We're going to have Dr. Cutter back on the show because I have like 10 more questions to ask.
I know, it's so much fun. Let's do part 2.
It was hilariously fun, and I'm glad you were able to bring the facts, but lighten my spirits up. I feel better now. I don't feel better about the times. I don't like the fact that it's getting worse, but you know what? You've empowered me with a little more information, and hopefully our viewers, as this thing grows, are empowered to make a conscious decision. I'm doing this out of love. This is Mentorship Moments. We are the village. A final commercial with my book, Navigating Through the Valleys of Success. One, you got 15 seconds. Give me some parting strong words for our communities, for our nation. Dr. COVID-19, something motivational.
I think the most important thing is to face whatever challenges, fears, whatever you have with love. And realize, that the love that you give can change the world. There's no need to stay afraid and freeze in fear. Face it with love.
God bless you. This is Mentorship Moments. We are the village. Each one, teach one. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Boom. I tried to be secular about this book, but I can't. Something's working within me.
DJ was already an incredible person, and then he wrote a book.
I turned to God as a person that stopped believing. So you will meet me there. And if not, you will see the works that help me get there.
If you want to know how to change and learn how to change from the inside out, you read this book.
Money is a real thing. It's a part of it. But what I show in the book, and I'm telling my young people out there, I'm walking you through business. This is a real business lecture 101. It's not the green that's going to keep you sustained. It's your influence. How well do you impart influence and love in people? How do I make you rich by a conversation we've had?
It's going to help you no matter what situation, no matter what trials or tribulations you're going through. It's going to give you that ammo that you need.
Watch God grow inside of me. Watch him show me why this went wrong to get to right. To him to say, you know what, God? I needed the tragedy too. I needed to feel loss. I needed to feel grief. I needed to feel let down. And thank God you've got me where I'm at in my marriage, with my kids, with my family, so I can see the blessings and I can tell somebody else how all those things I went through in the past got me where I'm at today.
You can get through anything if you just keep the faith and walk through that valley and don't give up. Don't turn back, don't look back, just keep looking forward, and the goal is right there. You just have to keep pushing for it.
Keep your brains in your head, keep your heart in your chest, and keep your pee-pee in your pants. And that's it.
That's great advice.
This will stay in your hearts for the rest of your life, and it will conquer the demons that lie in your mind.